Hello and welcome back to another day of just tremendous Bible study. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time just to study what matters the most. We're going to talk about one of the most famous parables that Jesus has told. The parable of what we call the prodigal son. Now there is a son, he's a man, and he's ready to leave the home. Now, we have to remember this is a different culture. So today, when you're 18, 19, 20, or graduate from college like me at 26, then you get out of the house and you move out of the house. But in Jesus' time in the patriarchal society, you just kind of stuck around your father's house and never really moved away. And so that was how it was. You just always stayed at home. Maybe you moved into a different house, but it was really close by, and your family was really, really tight. Now, this man, he says, "Dad, I want to make my own living. I want to strike out on my own," which is like, whoa, you don't do that, because that's just not society. That's not how things work. But the father says, okay, I'll give you your portion of the inheritance now, and you can go do what you want. And the Bible I was reading says he takes his money and he goes and lives just wild. He parties, he has so much fun, and then his money runs out, and then there's something called a famine. Now, for us, a famine would be like a couple weeks ago when you went to the store and there's no bread to buy. You go to the store and there's no meat to buy. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing. Only it was way, way, way worse then, because in a week all the bread came back. But then if there was no bread, there was no bread. Not for weeks, months, maybe even a year. And so there was a famine, and that just meant nothing could grow. And so this young man was broke. He had no money, no food, and he went and he got a job with pigs. And he was taking care of pigs. And I like bacon. You probably like bacon if you're American. And I love sausage. I love jowl. Jowl is the type of bacon that they use at Lambert's. Only it's like cheeks of the pig. I like eating pigs, but they're unclean and they're really filthy animals. And if you let them eat anything, they're going to eat anything. And so God says, don't eat those things to the Jews. He tells the Jews not to eat pigs. They're unclean. And so this boy, or this young man, is eating with the pigs. And he's eating the pig slop. And it's just gross. And this is really repugnant, revolting, disgusting to the people Jesus is telling this parable to, because they know you don't touch pigs. They're gross and they're disgusting. And so this young man's not even tending the pigs. He's eating with them, and he's so hungry and he's starving. He says, "What am I doing? I'm just going to go home. And I'm going to beg to be a servant for my father." And so he decides to go home. Now, the father is sitting out, or maybe standing. He's always looking for his son. That's all that matters. I always picture him of old Bonanza and Pa sitting on the porch waiting for his boy to come home. That's the way I see it. I don't know why. That's not even close to being accurate, but I like Bonanza. And so you have this boy, he's walking home, and the father is an old man. And in this culture, it is embarrassing for old people to run. Like, you just don't do it. And this father sees his son and gets up and he runs as fast as he can. And he gets his boy, he gives him a big hug and throws him on a robe and a ring and says, "We're going to party! And we're going to have so much fun!" And so they kill the animal, they eat, they feast. And a lot of times we call this the prodigal son, because prodigal means extravagant and wild and fun. But really, the son starts out as a prodigal, but the father becomes very extravagant. And he becomes just as prodigal as his son. He never fell away, it doesn't look like. And I don't think he ever does. But he is extravagant in his love towards his son. And the older brother sees this and is upset. He says, he broke all the rules, yet he gets all the fun stuff? That's wrong. And he's very upset, and he gets scolded for this. But Jesus is talking, if somebody falls away, we need to welcome him back. If you've fallen away, you need to come back. And the father in the story is representative, I think, of God the Father, and saying whenever you come back home, whenever you come back from falling away from Jesus to following Jesus, God's going to love on you. God's going to do everything he can and love on you and hold you dear and throw a party because you are that important. You are that amazing. Now, I think sometimes we could insert a third brother. And this is not in the Bible, and this is not what Jesus said, but what would happen if you're that third person in the family that saw that prodigal son come home, the bad son come home. And instead of being grumpy about it, you were excited about it. And you welcomed him home and said, hey, I don't care how bad you messed up. Here's a big hug, and you can even have my drumstick tonight, all right? Not my stuffing. Stuffing's important, and that's the best part of Thanksgiving dinner. But you can have anything else. And can we be that person? Can we be that person when somebody comes back to the family of God, we give them a big old hug, and we give them the best food, and we just say, hey, I love you, and I'm so excited that you've come back. Because now you're with the Father. And now you're following Jesus. And I couldn't wait for anything else to happen. So I think we have several choices. And at different times in our lives, we're going to be the bad son that falls away. That's because we're human. So just come back. There's going to be some times that we are human and we see that person come back and we're just like, why did they come back? But I want to challenge us to be ones that stay faithful and become that person that says, whenever, whoever, wherever that other person comes back, we love on them. We do all we can for them. Today for story time, we've got a book all about forgiveness, and this is so important. You see, the father in the story forgave the son. I think he forgave that son just as soon as he could. He knew his son was going to go mess up, but that didn't mean his son wouldn't have big old daddy arms to come give him a bear hug when he came home. Forgiveness is important because if we don't forgive, it's like drinking poison and thinking it's going to hurt the person we're not forgiving. We have to forgive because it's healthy for us, and God forgave us. And this storybook is all about this. When we break something, it's really easy to not tell anyone and blame it on someone else. But what we should do is ask that person to forgive us. When our toys are broken by somebody else, it's not easy to say that I forgive you. But it is important to forgive others. The Bible tells us to. Jesus said, if you forgive others, your heavenly Father will forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, your heavenly Father will not forgive you. We need to pray that God will forgive us, just as we need to forgive others. One time, Peter asked Jesus, how many times should I forgive someone? Should I forgive a person 7 times? And 7 is important because that's the perfect number in this culture. 7 is like, oh, I don't want to forgive him just 1 time or 2 times, but 7? Peter thinks he's being very forgiving. But Jesus said, no, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. What Jesus really meant was that we should not count the times, but Just keep on forgiving. As long as someone needs forgiveness, we should give it. Jesus told a story about a servant who owed the king a lot of money. The servant could not pay what he owed, so the king forgave him. He said, "Forget about it. You do not have to pay me back." The servant went out and found another servant who owed him just a little bit of money. The man could not pay him what he owed, so he had the man put in jail. This made the king very angry. He said, "I forgave you. Why did you not forgive someone else?" The king had the unforgiving servant put in jail. God will not forgive us if we do not forgive others. Jesus died on the cross so that the sins of all the people could be forgiven. When we do wrong, we can ask God to forgive us. When you have hurt someone, will you say, "Please forgive me"? You will be happy if you forgive. And when someone asks you to forgive him, will you? Forgiveness is amazing and it's beautiful, and we need to do it in such a way that that person knows we're sincere about it. And when they mess up, we need to be the first person to say, "I love you, and it's okay." Because I've messed up a lot, but Jesus has forgiven me every single time. And so because Jesus forgave me, I promise to forgive you. You guys have a great day. I can't wait to see you again. And remember to always obey your parents. Bye-bye.